Type 1 burnout usually hits in one of two ways. There's hot burnout, sheer anger, frustration, and wanting to smash your pump or pens right against the wall. And then there's cold burnout, detached apathy, blindly guessing your doses and muttering, "That'll do." When I hit the wall, I usually swing towards the cold side of the burnout. But beneath both of these reactions is the exact same exhaustion. It's the exhaustion and the crushing feeling of failing a daily maths exam that you never asked to take or had a choice to. It's fundamentally unfair that this condition demands your entire mental bandwidth. All you actually want to do is live a normal life without diabetes being the loudest voice in your head 24/7. Here's the truth though, relying on motivation to fix that broken self-trust is a dangerous game. There is no overnight cure for burnout. As an ex-paramedic and a type 1 coach, I know the traditional guess, check and tweak approach demands mental load that guarantees you will eventually crash. Instead, we can start to build self-trust through reliable daily tools. Today, I'll show you how to manage this condition quietly, acting on what your body actually needs, not what your burnout dictates. Stay for the third tool because it is the only way that I've found to stop type 1 from becoming your entire identity. The first tool is a way of thinking I like to call data versus drama. To start rebuilding self-trust around type 1 diabetes and your behaviors, you have to stop believing the first thing our brain tells us when a blood sugar goes wrong. The first draft story is what we tell ourselves. When you see 14 millimoles or 3 millimoles on your CGM, your brain immediately responds to tell you a story. It sounds something like this usually, that I'm a complete failure at managing this, I'll never be able to do type 1 diabetes, this is all too hard. This is the drama trap. If you accept that emotional fiction that your brain is telling you, it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. You lean into the cold burnout story or maybe the rage burnout story. You need to watch that first draft story your brain is telling you. This is where going from drama to data can help us strip some of the emotion out. The data does not tell you I'm a failure. That 14 on the CGM, that 3 on the CGM, that data is just that, hey, my current strategy didn't work in this approach. Maybe next time the extended bolus will be enough for the high-fat meal I'm eating. So how do we apply this drama versus data approach? You need to first observe the narrative or the story that's going on in your head, but you don't have to believe it. Acting on the data turns a mistake into a strategic lesson rather than a personal character flaw. And it's really easy to get stuck in that trap of assuming that you're the thing that's wrong with this situation. Once you can start to separate the data from the drama here, you stop punishing yourself, which makes it much easier to hit the brakes before you make a dangerous reactive mistake to a number that isn't quite going your way. Now, I want to be clear here, I'm not telling you not to feel the emotion. That's not what we're going for here. Feel the emotion, identify the drama that's happening, then you have the agency to make the next step. Number 2 is the strategic pause, and it's how we can start to override some of the biological panic which is hardwired into our DNA when we see a rapidly rising arrow or a rapidly decreasing arrow on your Dexcom or CGM. Your body goes into survival mode here. You get a sudden spike that triggers a survival-based stress response. You start to feel the emotion. The emotional brain hijacks the logical one. You're not doing anything wrong here, it's just biology. The problem happens here when we're in this emotional mode and we start to act on the panic window that we're in. That's when rage-bolusing comes in, stacking insulin, which can guarantee a severe crash 3 or 4 hours later. This is where we have a bit of a mental gap here. We need to force a physical gap of time between the trigger event, that might be something like the CGM yelling at us, and us choosing how to manage it. We need to give our logical brain, the thinking part of our brain, time to come online instead of just acting on the emotion of the situation. So to do this in reality, to execute it, you need to notice the panic first. That starts right here with the education we're having. Then, once you've noticed it, you can take one deep breath to disrupt that stress response, or just observe the emotions that you're having. Observe the urge to overcorrect without acting on it. Observe the urge to have the entire bag or box of chocolates instead of the 1 or 2 you might need to correct that low. Giving your logical brain just that 3 to 5 seconds to catch up can prevent some hazardous decisions and in turn those roller coaster blood sugars that some of us are really familiar with. But even with the perfect logic, some days are just gonna feel completely suffocating with type 1 diabetes. So that's why this is probably my favorite tool that I mentioned at the top is tool number 3, which is the beach ball. The problem here is that on a bad day, the condition of type 1 diabetes demands way too much mental and emotional battery power. It's like holding a giant beach ball directly in front of your face, and it blocks the view of everything else in your life. Family, work, friends, socializing, everything. All you can see is that diabetes beach ball held right up in front of your face. So we need to learn and practice putting that beach ball down. Acknowledging that diabetes is in the room with us, but deliberately moving it out of the way so you can see what's happening around you. Now, what's really important here is that this is the practice of not necessarily solving all of those numbers on your blood sugars, not necessarily having the perfect next step strategy. Sometimes you just need to put the diabetes down so you can take a breath and then plan your way forward. Until you do that, you're just making emotional reactions one after the other. This allows you and reminds you in your brain that diabetes is a medical condition. It's not who you are. It's not your identity. You might be a parent, a professional, a partner, someone who loves playing soccer, football, cricket, ultimate frisbee, whatever it might be. You're not your type 1 diabetes. So really importantly, I want you to remember, burnout is not a character flaw. It's simply the result of carrying that beach ball for too long without a system that helps you put it down. And I want to be really honest with you here. You're not going to magically cure diabetes burnout tomorrow morning by applying these 3 tools. That's not the goal here. The goal is to stop relying on motivation and emotion to drive our actions. When you hit that wall, lean on the data, force the strategic pause, take that moment, and actively lower the beach ball. Every single time you use one of these small tools, instead of blindly guessing or rage-bolusing at the whim of your emotions, you build a tiny piece of self-trust back. If this video helped you put the beach ball down today, hit subscribe. We build practical type 1 systems here every week to help you manage this condition quietly.